1.2 Vague language. 1. Avoiding unnecessary detail. 1.
Are you getting the train back to uni?
No, luckily my parents said they'd drive me. I've got loads of stuff and it'll be much easier to just put it all in the car.
2.
What's wrong with your pen?
The top bit's dropped off and I can't get it to work.
3.
What do you think of the hotel?
Well, there's one thing I'm not very keen on.
What's that?
Well, the bar's nice, but it's really noisy and you can hear the music from our room.
1.3 2. Being imprecise using ish. 1.
What colour are her eyes?
A sort of greenish-brown.
2.
What time do you usually get up?
Well, normally 6-ish, but later at weekends.
3.
Are you hungry?
Mish, I don't mind stopping for lunch if you want to.
1.4 3. Being imprecise about quantity and time.
How many people were there at the demonstration?
Oh, around 500.
There must have been 500 or so.
Maybe 500 odd?
At least 450 and at most 525.
How old were most of the demonstrators?
Oh, 20-something I'd say.
1.5 4. Whatever, whenever, etc. 1.
What time do you want us to be there?
Whenever suits you, really. 7-ish?
2.
Is it okay if I ask Sean and Joey to the party?
Ask whoever you like, so long as it's not more than 20-odd people.
3.
Nice menu. I really fancy the lobster, or is it too expensive?
Have whatever you like, the company's paying.
4.
That's it? Checkmate!
Oh, you're so annoying. However well I play, you always win.
5.
Tea or coffee?
Whichever's easiest. I'm happy with either.
6.
Did you know the dog's chewing your slipper?
Not again. Wherever I hide them, he always finds them.
1.6 1.
I'd have liked to come, but it was impossible.
2.
I would have liked to come, but it was impossible.
3.
I'd have liked to come, but it was impossible.
1.7 1.
I'll soon have been living here for 20 years.
2.
If we'd set off earlier, we wouldn't have got caught in the rush hour.
3.
They should have known that it'd be a disaster.
4.
It'll be easier to choose the right place if you've already researched online.
5.
If I were you, I'd accept their offer.
6.
You shouldn't have left so late.
1.8 1.
Here's a solid gold piece of advice. Be wary of anyone offering you solid gold pieces of advice.
2.
The friend who advises you to, say, stay in your relationship or leave your job may well be looking out for you, but she's inescapably looking out for herself too.
3.
People will generally advise you to act more cautiously than they would act themselves in a similar situation, perhaps because they don't want it on their conscience if you take a daring leap and fall flat on your face.
4.
There's a happy flip side to this, though, for parents, teachers, managers, and anyone else who finds themselves in the position of needing to motivate others.
5.
This result isn't all that surprising, I suppose, when you consider how flattering it feels to be invited to give advice.
6.
Yet the truth very often is that we know exactly what we need to do. We just lack the confidence to do it.
7.
To ingratiate yourself with someone, it's better to ask for a favor than to perform one. The favor doer will come to think of you as the decent and likable sort for whom they do favors.
1.9.
Here's a solid gold piece of advice. Be wary of anyone offering you solid gold pieces of advice. The friend who advises you to, say, stay in your relationship or leave your job may well be looking out for you, but she's inescapably looking out for herself too, whether she realizes it or not. Maybe she thinks her own marriage is not perfect, and that you too should accept a similar situation. Maybe she adores your company so much she could never recommend a career step that might involve your leaving town. Moreover, research suggests that people will generally advise you to act more cautiously than they would act themselves in a similar situation, perhaps because they don't want it on their conscience if you take a daring leap and fall flat on your face. There's a happy flip side to this, though, for parents, teachers, managers, and anyone else who finds themselves in the position of needing to motivate others. Far better than giving them advice is to give them the opportunity to give advice. That's the conclusion of a new study by psychologists at the universities of Chicago and Pennsylvania, who found that American middle school pupils were much more enthusiastic about doing their homework after dispensing advice on the topic to younger children than after receiving advice from teachers. This motivational effect lasted weeks and was also observed among adults who were attempting to lose weight, save money, control their temper, or find a job. Teach a man to fish, and he'll know how to fish. But get him to teach others how to fish, and he might actually do some fishing. This result isn't all that surprising, I suppose, when you consider how flattering it feels to be invited to give advice. Faced with a challenge, we tend to assume we need to seek advice in order to obtain more knowledge about how to proceed. Yet the truth very often is that we know exactly what we need to do. We just lack the confidence to do it. The act of giving advice reacquaints us with the knowledge we already possess, which instills confidence, which motivates action. In fact, there are few bigger compliments you can pay another person than to ask, preferably sincerely, for their advice. As Benjamin Franklin, politician and founding father of the USA, famously observed, to ingratiate yourself with someone, it's better to ask for a favor than to perform one. The favor doer will come to think of you as the decent and likable sort for whom they do favors. The same surely applies to advice. Rather than giving it, ask for it.
1.10. 1.
Be wary of anyone offering you solid gold pieces of advice.
2.
Middle school pupils were much more enthusiastic about doing their homework after dispensing advice on the topic
3.
than after receiving advice from teachers.
4.
When you consider how flattering it feels to be invited to give advice.
5.
We tend to assume we need to seek advice in order to obtain more knowledge.
6.
There are few bigger compliments you can pay another person than to ask, preferably sincerely, for their advice.
1.11. 1. Kathy.
So, the best advice I've ever been given, well, in my early career, I remember I'd been having trouble with a more junior colleague in our department. And I wasn't particularly important at that time where I was working, but I did need to get him to do something that he really didn't want to do, and he kept avoiding it. And I didn't want to upset him by insisting on it, and I really just couldn't get anywhere with it. And now I think my boss could see what was going on. She was quite a perceptive person, Anyway, she said one evening she could give me a lift home, and she just asked me point blank what the matter was. And I was so stressed by that point that I just told her the problem I was having with this colleague. And she said, well, if you're sure you're right about this, and I think you are, then go ahead. And I said, I was just really worried that we wouldn't be able to get on, me and this colleague anymore. And she said, well, I think you're right about that, but the best advice I can give you is he's your colleague and not your friend. And just remember that it's not important that everybody likes you. I was quite shocked, but in fact, it was really good advice. And in difficult situations through my working life, I've remembered and followed that advice.
2. Emma.
In terms of the best piece of advice I've ever been given, it's not something that was given to me personally, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently about body positivity and confidence and being healthy and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure who it was, but one of the podcasters basically said, you know, no one's actually looking at you. Everyone's very self-conscious. When you put on swimwear, when you're in the summer clothes, you think that you're going to walk out onto a beach and everyone's just going to turn around and stare at you. But the reality is everyone's just far more concerned about themselves than they are about you. I think that's quite a good thing to live by, and I do try to think like that.
3. Cecile.
Thing I can think of off the top of my head is when I was with my sister shopping and we went into a department store. I think we were looking for a present for someone, and I fell in love with some really expensive shoes, and they weren't even dressy shoes, they were just trainers, very nice ones. I just loved them, and my sister said to me, I think you should get them, they're so you and you'll wear them loads. Anyway, she convinced me, and I've been wearing them for the last 3 years, day in, day out. If you use that system of dividing the price of something by how often you wear it, they sort of worked out cheap, I think.
1.12.
I'd say my parents were pretty strict. I mean, they were very strict about some things in particular. Not so much about, playing outside or things like that. In fact, I remember we used to go off and play all day and they wouldn't know where we were or care what time we came back, so long as we didn't miss a meal or something like that. But they were very strict about studying. They were very demanding. They wanted us to always be top of the class. They'd be very upset if we didn't do well. On the other hand, they didn't used to control how much homework we were doing. They never helped us with our homework. They just assumed we would be getting on with it. They were very angry if we didn't get... Well, when I say they, my father, much more than my mother, would be very angry if we didn't do well in exams. My mother would be disappointed, but my father would be angry. And I remember with my A-levels, I got 2 A's and a B, and he didn't say, well done, he just said, why did you get that B? And so my dad was controlling. I mean, he was pretty authoritarian, and he controlled our tastes, or he tried to control our tastes in all sorts of things, in the sense that he thought we should agree with everything he liked. So he didn't approve of football, but he liked tennis. So watching tennis was fine, but watching football wasn't. And he adored classical music, but loathed pop music. And I remember that if he came in and my sister and I were watching a programme like Top of the Pops on television, he would immediately switch it off. And I think he actually broke some records that we bought of Beatles songs or something like that.
1.13.
Good afternoon and welcome to the programme. Now, we all know that parents take different approaches to bringing up their kids. And thinking of our own upbringing and people we know, we all probably have an idea about which styles of parenting we approve of. We've been hearing a lot in the media recently about different parenting styles. For example, free-range parenting, where children have lots of freedom with not much supervision. Or tiger parenting, where parents are very demanding and put a lot of pressure on children to achieve. In particular, there's been a lot of attention given recently to the phenomenon of so-called helicopter parents, the ones who hover over their children and control their every waking moment. And this is generally regarded as a negative thing. Joining us today is an expert on the psychology of parenting who's going to discuss a new book called Love, Money and Parenting, written by economists Matthias Dobke and Fabrizio Zilbotti. It argues, controversially, that in fact, in the UK and the USA, the children of helicopter parents do better at school, are more focused and conscientious, and are less likely to take risks with drink and drugs. Hello, Janice, and thank you for coming on the programme.
Hello. 1.14.
So, Janice, what's your take on the book?
Thanks, Sam. Well, this is a very interesting book. According to the authors, helicopter parents are a combination of strict and supportive. They have high expectations about what their children should achieve, both academically and in their general lives, but they are also available to talk to them and give them help when they need it. This is very different from authoritarian parents, the so-called tiger parents, who put a big emphasis on obedience.
And what do the authors say is the main benefit of helicopter parenting?
Well, the main benefit of this type of parenting is in academic achievement. There are several studies that prove that children of helicopter parents get the highest exam results. Regardless of background, they achieve higher scores in maths, reading and science. And these children are also very likely to go on to university.
So how does this compare with other types of parenting? How do their children do?
Well, apparently, children of free-range parents get the second highest results, followed by children of tiger parents.
Which is interesting, because people normally think that children of tiger parents get the top results. So what kinds of things do helicopter parents do with their children that make such a difference to academic performance?
Well, reading with children, telling them stories, and when they are older, discussing politics. These are all things which they say push up test scores significantly, and apparently doing all three regularly can account for a huge increase in test scores. But in fact, they do say that it's not so much the specific activity that makes a difference. It's more that these parents are closely engaged with their children. Yeah, they give them lots of attention. The right sort of attention.
And they're also very keen on extracurricular activities. The music lessons, the sports and so on. Do they make a difference too?
Yes. Well, helicopter parents commonly insist that their children learn an instrument or a foreign language or do a sport. This is significant, the authors say, because certain types of extracurricular activities have an important influence on a child's development. For example, encouraging a child to play the violin or piano is not just for the pleasure of music, it also trains them to focus better on a task.
1.15.
Presumably, not everyone is convinced by this research.
No, the book hasn't been well received by the free-range parent community, who argue that any kind of intensive parenting ruins family life. They say it harms children's happiness and doesn't produce particularly successful or creative offspring.
Yes, they tend to think children are hugely over-supervised these days, that they don't have time to think for themselves and just expect to be entertained.
Yes, but the authors of the book say that the evidence doesn't really support that. They argue that it's about finding a balance. The really clever part about helicopter parenting, when it's done well, is that these parents use what social scientists call soft power. They are aiming to shape children's values and preferences so that the children appear to be making those choices of their own accord. So, their children tend to acquire a good work ethic and resilience when they are faced with challenges, and these are valuable personal characteristics that will have an effect on their future success. There's also a Swedish study which says that these children are less susceptible to depression, better at concentrating, and generally more self-confident.
Does the book imply then that this is the best parenting system, regardless of what country you're from or what the education system is?
No, and this is in a way the most interesting argument. The authors don't say that there is only one possible parenting style. What they explain is that parenting styles are a reflection of the economic situation in a particular country at a certain time. Yeah, so in countries where there is considerable economic inequality, such as the UK or the US at the moment, there are more parents who push their children to succeed from a young age because there's so much to be gained by doing well in life. However, in the UK, in the 1970s, when there was less difference between the lives of the most and least successful, parenting styles were generally more relaxed, which was appropriate at that time. And today, if you look at countries where the average income is higher and they have less economic inequality, such as Sweden and Finland, again, parenting can still be more relaxed because there's not so much to lose by not being a high achiever. And typically, children in Scandinavia and the Netherlands tend to be far less competitive, and qualities such as creativity and independence are more highly prized because that's what they need to succeed.
So, what kind of parents are the authors? Do they say in the book?
Both authors say they're almost certainly helicopter parents, but as I was saying, they don't think that this is the only right parenting style.
Just that it produces the best outcomes in unequal societies.
Yes, that's right. And they highlight the importance of having the right parenting style for your circumstances. For example, being an over-controlling parent, a tiger parent, may produce great exam grades, but these children, often those from countries where there is a huge focus on academic achievement, such as Singapore, South Korea, have the most mental health and youth suicide problems, along with low levels of creativity. These children never have the opportunity to develop their natural talents, and it can make them stressed and unhappy in the short term. And with free-range parenting, children may develop their creative side and learn to make their own decisions, but they may also make the wrong decisions or miss opportunities because their parents aren't involved enough.
Well, how fascinating and how difficult to get that balance right. If you want to read more, the book we've been discussing today is Love, Money and Parenting, How Economics Explains the Way We Raise Our Kids by Matthias Dobke and Fabrizio Zilbotti, published by Princeton University Press. Thank you very much, Janice, for talking to us today. So, what kind of parent are you? I have to say, I'm totally free range.
1.16 Phrasal nouns. 1. Particle first. 1.
His parents were actors, so his upbringing was rather unusual.
2.
We need to offer more financial support to people on low incomes.
3.
Both teams are on top form. It's impossible to predict the outcome of the match.
4.
Just as we left the cinema, there was a sudden downpour and we got soaked.
5.
I like that brand of sweeteners. They don't leave any nasty aftertaste.
6.
When changes to immigration policy were announced, there was a public outcry.
7.
A series of political misjudgments eventually led to the downfall of the president.
8.
Her bad back is an unfortunate after effect of her car accident.
9.
It will be sunny today, but the outlook for the weekend is rain.
10.
We were supposed to be working as a team, but I had almost no input.
11.
Could you give us an update on the progress of our house sale?
12.
After an emotional outburst, she ran into her bedroom crying.
13.
People felt the aftershocks many days after the earthquake.
14.
Our initial outlay was high, but eventually we made a success of the business.
15.
The documentary is about the events leading up to the outbreak of World War I.
16.
There has been a very high uptake of the free courses we advertised.
17.
As a result of a downturn in sales, several stores have been closed.
18.
The entrance fee helps with the upkeep of the house and gardens.
19.
Your recommended daily intake of sugar is about 6 teaspoons.
1.17. 2. Verb first. 1.
£150 for a t-shirt? That's a complete rip-off.
2.
After insisting he could negotiate a new deal, he was forced into a climb down.
3.
After 10 years out of the sport, he's made an amazing comeback and reached the final.
4.
After years of research into a cure for the disease, they have finally had a breakthrough.
5.
Family breakups increase the risk of childhood depression.
6.
I find musicals a bit of a turn-off. They're just not my cup of tea.
7.
I'm afraid there's been a bit of a mix-up. I think I've got your case and you've got mine.
8.
I've only been in the job a couple of weeks, so I still don't really know the setup.
9.
It was a bit of a letdown when my friends cancelled at the last minute.
10.
Nobody was hurt in the accident, but my car's a complete write-off.
11.
The police called for backup when they were unable to cope with a violent crowd.
12.
She pretended she liked her present, but her expression was a real giveaway.
13.
Sorry, we're going to be about 20 minutes late. There's a hold-up on the motorway.
14.
There was a really good turnout for the march, over 50,000 people.
15.
The shop's had a makeover and it's now much more modern.
16.
The team suffered a major setback when their captain was injured.
17.
There has been a breakdown in communication between the government and the unions.
18.
We chose the restaurant because it had a really good write-up on TripAdvisor.
19.
We're just waiting to be given the go-ahead before we start working on the new project.
20.
We're on standby for the evening flight. Let's hope there are some free seats.
21.
When my boss saw the sales figures, she had a complete meltdown and started shouting at us.
1.18. 1.
Teens.
2.
Full.
3.
Debt.
4.
March.
5.
Cot.
1.19. 1.
Income. System. Decide.
2.
E. Obedience. Achievement. Stream.
3.
Input. Outlook. Shouldn't.
4.
Ooh. Approve. Assume. View.
5.
Equality. Hover. Knowledge.
6.
Or. Downpour. Supportive. Author.
7.
Demand. Harm. Laughter.
8.
Tough. Upkeep. Accompany.
9.
Pleasure. Intensive. Friendship.
10.
Term. Turnout. Learning.
2.1. Part 1.
Her story is one of determination and hard graft, which took her from leaving school at 15 with nothing to the icon of elegant living she is today. But Jo, what went wrong with your schooling?
I was dyslexic. I am dyslexic, horribly, but it wasn't discovered until I'd left school. So I can remember at the age of 11 cheating in an exam because I was so fed up being the bottom in the class. And so I looked at a multiple choice and I could copy the multiple choice, and I was caught, rightly so, and made to stand on my chair. And the teacher turned around and said to me, "You are lazy and stupid and you'll never make anything of your life." I don't blame her. You know what? She was dealing with a situation at the time, but I knew I was neither. I was smart, I was clever, I was hardworking. I just learnt in a very different fashion.
Because that could go either way, can't it? You can either sort of take that on board and feel crushed by it, or you can think, actually, I'm not accepting that.
I think I've lived my life not being defined by other people's opinions of me. Everyone's always got an opinion of you, haven't they? And you can either allow yourself to be defined by that or you move on. And I knew I was always 2 steps ahead. So I could make face creams, I could do all sorts of different things. So I could do things that other children couldn't do.
Great knowledge to have for an entrepreneur, isn't it? And you did start out you were on market stalls selling your dad's paintings and stuff and learning the rudiments of how to encourage people to buy.
Yeah, I loved that. Absolutely. So I had 3 jobs when I was little. One was the market stall. So I would go from the age of 7, I'd go with my dad to Crayford, Dartford, Blackheath, Tunbridge Wells. And he was a painter. And we came from a very poor background, so we lived in a 2 up, 2 down. And as I would walk through the door on a Saturday morning to go to the market, my mum would say, "There's no food in the fridge, Jo. If you don't sell a painting, there is nothing to eat." So I knew my job.
No pressure.
Well, but you know something, when you grow up like that, it feels like the most natural thing for you. You don't feel like, poor. I didn't ever feel poor me, by the way, ever. So I knew I would always have to sell the first painting very quickly, and I did, and I'd pocket the money knowing that we had enough to pay the rent or certainly put a couple of meals in the fridge.
2.2. Part 2.
And then, of course, as you say, life is full of stories. Life is full of adventures and misadventures, light and shade. And then you had this devastating diagnosis of cancer. And that, for a moment, put you completely out of the game.
Yes, it did. I was 38 years old. My son was just 2. I'd sold my business to Estee Lauder. I was having the time of my life. And a curveball, it came from nowhere. I didn't anticipate it, didn't expect it, didn't deserve it, but no one does. And I'd found a lump in my breast, went to have it checked, thought it was a cyst, and it wasn't. It was a very, very aggressive form of breast cancer. And I was giving a pretty grim diagnosis of under a year. And I remember sitting there and putting that same head on as I was the little girl that stood on the chair and wouldn't take no for an answer. And I thought, no one's going to tell me when I'm going to die. I'm going to fight this and try and survive. So I went to New York City. I was one of the first women to take chemotherapy in a very different way, in much longer periods, but shorter spaces of time. And I spent a year, surgery after surgery, lost my hair, lost half my body, and then found a way of putting my life back together again. Came through all of that and was given, you're not given the all clear straight away, but I was told, it's time to go back and live your life. And it's like walking a tightrope without a net. It's a really scary moment. And then I realised I couldn't smell, that chemotherapy had taken away my sense of smell.
How did you discover that?
Because all I could smell was this. I mean, I had been on Adriamycin, Cytoxin, Taxol, Taxotere, you name it, they'd thrown it. And let me tell you, I'm all clear still. It worked.
Yeah.
So you have to balance life. But all I could smell was metal and all I could taste was metal. So I couldn't create fragrance. And it was the most devastating thing for me because that's who I am.
It's your creativity.
It's how I interpret life. And so I was left by this person, and that was why I decided to walk away and leave. I couldn't bear to be around something I couldn't be creative with, and I didn't want to be the figurehead. And so I made the decision to leave the business that I'd founded.
Miraculously, 5 years later, Jo had regained her sense of smell and set up a new fragrance company.
Well, 2011, I launched Jo Loves, and so she's 7 years old now and is now flying. But I promise you, it was a very tough journey getting there. And the first 2 years, I wanted to quit every single day. It was just excruciatingly difficult.
Harder the second time round?
Much harder.
Why?
I made every mistake in the book the second time round. I got the packaging wrong. I got the distribution wrong. I know.
But why?
I don't know. We're people. We're human beings. We make mistakes.
Yeah. You don't expect that of someone who's been so successful, though.
Well, that's what the world thinks. But actually, in reality, if I hadn't done it, I hadn't made those mistakes, I am living the most amazing adventure of life right at this moment. I wouldn't be here. Yeah. So you learn from those mistakes,
you learn from your
don't
mistakes,
you?
exactly, yeah.
2.3.
The teacher turned around and said to me, "You are lazy and stupid and you'll never make anything of your life." I don't blame her. You know what? She was dealing with a situation at the time, but I knew I was neither.
2.4. 1.
Controversy.
Controversy.
2.
Garage.
Garage.
3.
Envelope.
Envelope.
4.
Harassment.
Harassment.
5.
Often. Often.
6.
Friday.
Friday.
7.
Privacy.
Privacy.
8.
Schedule.
Schedule.
9.
Sandwich.
Sandwich.
10.
Room. Room.
11.
Kilometre.
Kilometre.
12.
8.
Et.
2.5.
And just as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's we all have stories, things, your mum, the smell of cooking. It makes us feel safe and secure, and it might be a pair of shoes that your dad wore and the smell of the leather, or it might be the smell of your newborn child. I can remember the smell of my son when he was born. I've never been able to recreate it, but it's the smell of new life for me. So I think smell is a really powerful memory evoking. It's the nearest thing, sits by the brain near the memory, which is why my dyslexia and my being able to create fragrance is what life took away with one hand, it gave me back with another, because they sit side by side.
2.6. 1.
Success is 99% failure.
2.
He who believes is strong. He who doubts is weak. Strong convictions precede great actions.
3.
Sometimes you don't realize your own strength until you come face to face with your greatest weakness.
4.
Use what you've been through as fuel. Believe in yourself and be unstoppable.
5.
Some people will just go with the flow of things in life, while others will fight against the currents and go upstream to reach their destiny.
6.
A truly strong person does not need the approval of others, any more than a lion needs the approval of sheep.
7.
A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles.
2.7. Prefixes and suffixes. 1. Prefixes. B. 1.
A or an means without, amoral, anemic.
2.
Ante means before, antenatal.
3.
Circum means around, circumnavigate.
4.
Contra or contro means against, contradict, controversial.
5.
Extra means beyond, more than, extraordinary.
6.
For means before, foresee.
7.
Homo means the same, homogeneous.
8.
Hyper means over, above, hyperactive.
9.
Infra means beneath, below, infrastructure.
10.
Macro means large, macroeconomics.
11.
Micro means small, microscope.
12.
Omni means all, every, omnipotent.
13.
Para means beside, paramedic.
14.
Trans means across, transatlantic.
15.
Uni means one. Unicorn.
2.8. 1. Prefixes. D. 1.
Extrajudicial, extraterrestrial, extracurricular.
2.
Translucent, transmission, translation.
3.
Forewarned, foretold, forecast.
4.
Circumvent, circumference, circumspect.
5.
Microcosm, microchip, microwave.
6.
Omnivorous, omnipresent, omnibus.
7.
Paralympics, paranormal, parasite.
8.
Universe, uniform, unilateral.
2.9. 2. Noun and adjective suffixes. A. Noun suffixes. 1.
Accuracy, intimacy.
2.
Marriage, storage.
3. Portrayal, survival. 4.
Competence, fragrance.
5.
boredom, wisdom.
6.
Idealism, racism.
7.
Adversity. Purity.
8.
Achievement, treatment.
9.
Stiffness, unpleasantness.
10.
Censorship. Ownership.
11.
Inspiration, invasion.
B. Adjective suffixes. 1.
Lovable. Reversible.
2.
Brutal. Instrumental.
3.
Picturesque, statuesque.
4.
Soulful, truthful.
5.
Catastrophic. Metaphorical.
6.
Glamorous, rebellious.
7.
Childish. Snobbish.
8.
Attentive. Oppressive.
9.
Homeless, speechless.
10.
Airy, bloody.
2.10.
5 couples left London at the start of the race, and 1 was eliminated during the journey, leaving 4 to cross the finish line in Singapore. The couples had travelled by train, bus, boat and taxi through mountains, deserts and tropical islands. They had worked in farms, flower shops, hostels and animal sanctuaries on their journeys, exploring different cultures, taking risks and confronting their fears. The eventual winners were 61-year-old retired teachers Tony and Elaine, who claimed the £20,000 prize money. Natalie and Shamima finished 3rd overall, and Josh and Felix last. They didn't have enough money to reach the final checkpoint, but were given the money by Natalie and Shamima so that they could complete the race. The contestants remember relying on people's help, laughing, connecting without a common language, feeling exhausted, despondent and jubilant, finding their courage and discovering that if you show respect, kindness is universal. The loveliest moments, they all say, were chatting with people on trains. Tales of hair plaiting, exchanging chocolate for chicken, sharing photos, the gesture of a hand on heart. The teams returned home in December. Before jumping back into work, Josh and Felix took a holiday with their girlfriends. Natalie went on a month's silent meditation. Shamima enrolled in a boxing class and won a match in front of 1,000 people, including her daughters and Natalie. Josh recalls that at first the production crew tried to gee up the competitive side of the race, but soon, he says, they realised it was about the human stories. It's always about the human stories.
2.11.
One day I'd like to do a big adventure. I hear this all the time. At parties, at events I speak at, by email from strangers. But I don't have the time, money, fitness, shiny kit. The excuses vary occasionally, but the essence remains the same. One day I want adventure in my life, but unfortunately it can't be right now. Waiting for all your stars to align is a guaranteed way to ensure that the adventure you crave will never happen. Waiting until you somehow, suddenly and simultaneously have both loads of money and plenty of time is daft, if you'll excuse me being a bit direct before we have got to know one another properly. One day? What rubbish. If this applies to you, listen. You do not need a winning lottery ticket to have an adventure. What you need is a polite kick up the backside. A push. I want this book to give you the tiny bit of momentum needed to get started. This is a book for people who want adventure in their life, but find that real life has got in the way. One day, is just an excuse. It's lazy, self-deluding, and, worst of all, completely unnecessary. So if you are procrastinating and dithering about committing to adventure, why don't you begin with a one-day adventure? Something so tiny that it can barely be called an adventure. Let's call it a micro-adventure. Now, go and do it as soon as you can. Not one day. Tomorrow would be a good time to start. Or this weekend at the very latest. Start small, but do start. The concept is simple. Pick up your wallet. You're ready. Open the door. Step out and begin. This sentence, by the way, is the hardest thing you will read in this entire book. Then jump on a train. I'd suggest doing this micro-adventure by bike because you can explore so much more new ground that way, but going by foot is a simple alternative. Hell, take a canoe if you like. Anyway, choose a station, almost at random, that's about 30 miles away from your home. Buy a one-way ticket. I say 30 miles because it's a distance long enough to be challenging on a bike, but achievable in one day, even if you are pretty unfit. If you're on foot, or if you can't manage 30 miles, then do a shorter trip. But don't just duck out and do no trip. This approach applies throughout this book. If something I suggest is too difficult, do an easier version. If something is too easy, make it harder. Mold it and adapt it to your own situation. Just make sure you do something. When you arrive at your destination, hop on your bike and cycle home. Travelling 30 miles away from your home should guarantee that you'll begin the adventure in lovely countryside. I suggest you navigate homewards using a compass or the Crow's Flight app on your smartphone rather than a map. A compass or the app won't tell you what route to take, it will only point you in the right direction. The twists and turns and decisions that crop up along the way are therefore down to your instinct and serendipity. It becomes far more of a journey into the unknown than merely following the clearly prescribed route back home that a map would give you. If that feels a bit daunting, by all means use a map or even a sat-nav. Don't let any of the ideas in this book put you off. Just modify them to what appeals to you. I once spent 4 years cycling back home. Within the single day ahead of you will lie most of the challenges, hurdles and rewards of a multi-year ride, although maybe fewer bears. But I mean this seriously. You'll have to navigate your way, you'll become wildly hungry and relish the joy of stopping at a cafe and eating cake guilt-free. You will see things you have never seen before. If you travel slowly and with a smile on your face, then you will meet different people, have interesting conversations, and learn something new about the world and about yourself. When you eventually make it back to your front door, you will be tired, aching and hungry, but you will have had an unusual and rewarding day, and, I sincerely hope, you will have realized that you are capable of more and are thus eager for more. You have opened the door to adventure.
2.12.
The concept is simple. Pick up your wallet. You're ready. Open the door. Step out and begin. This sentence, by the way, is the hardest thing you will read in this entire book. Then jump on a train. I'd suggest doing this micro-adventure by bike because you can explore so much more new ground that way, but going by foot is a simple alternative. Hell, take a canoe if you like. Anyway, choose a station, almost at random, that's about 30 miles away from your home. Buy a one-way ticket. I say 30 miles because it's a distance long enough to be challenging on a bike, but achievable in one day, even if you are pretty unfit. If you're on foot, or if you can't manage 30 miles, then do a shorter trip. But don't just duck out and do no trip. This approach applies throughout this book. If something I suggest is too difficult, do an easier version. If something is too easy, make it harder. Mold it and adapt it to your own situation. Just make sure you do something. When you arrive at your destination, hop on your bike and cycle home. Travelling 30 miles away from your home should guarantee that you'll begin the adventure in lovely countryside. I suggest you navigate homewards using a compass or the Crow's Flight app on your smartphone rather than a map. A compass or the app won't tell you what route to take, it will only point you in the right direction. The twists and turns and decisions that crop up along the way are therefore down to your instinct and serendipity. It becomes far more of a journey into the unknown than merely following the clearly prescribed route back home that a map would give you. If that feels a bit daunting, by all means use a map or even a sat-nav. Don't let any of the ideas in this book put you off. Just modify them to what appeals to you. I once spent 4 years cycling back home. Within the single day ahead of you will lie most of the challenges, hurdles and rewards of a multi-year ride, although maybe fewer bears. But I mean this seriously. You'll have to navigate your way, you'll become wildly hungry and relish the joy of stopping at a cafe and eating cake, guilt-free. You will see things you have never seen before. If you travel slowly and with a smile on your face, then you will meet different people, have interesting conversations, and learn something new about the world and about yourself. When you eventually make it back to your front door, you will be tired, aching and hungry, but you will have had an unusual and rewarding day, and, I sincerely hope, you will have realized that you are capable of more and are thus eager for more. You have opened the door to adventure.
2.13 Ways of moving. Move slowly. 1,
Ambled.
2,
Mooched.
3,
Wandered.
4,
Trudged.
5.
Strolled.
Move quickly. 6,
Sped.
7,
Rush.
8,
Tore.
9,
Dashed.
10.
Sprinted.
Move with confidence or attitude. 11,
Stormed.
12,
Strutted.
13,
Marched.
14,
Swaggered.
15.
Strode.
Move quietly or secretively. 16,
Crept.
17,
Slipped.
18,
Sneak.
19,
Skulking.
20.
Tiptoed.
Move with difficulty. 21,
Staggered.
22,
Limped.
23,
Hike.
24,
Scrambled.
25.
Waded.
Move like an animal. 26,
Waddled.
27,
Trotted.
28,
Prowled.
29,
Scampered.
30.
Padded.
2.14
Scamper.
Skulk.
Scramble.
Speed.
Sprint.
Stagger.
Stride.
Stroll.
Struggle.
Strut.
Swagger.
3.1. 1.
I think we need to prioritise discussing the budget as it's currently more urgent.
2.
To scientists' surprise, the 30-year study revealed no correlation between a vegan diet and good health.
3.
The writer claims to be the first to investigate this connection.
4.
The popularity of live TV has significantly decreased over the last 5 years as people move to streaming services.
5.
The study has concluded that a larger brain doesn't necessarily make an animal more intelligent.
6.
After years of steady improvement, driving test pass rates peaked at 60% and have been dropping over the past few years.
7.
We're expecting house prices to rise by approximately 7%, but then to fall again.
8.
Before we publish the results in our paper, we will need to analyse our research in detail.
3.2.
It's predicted that the divorce rate will decrease over the next 5 years. It's predicted that there will be a decrease in divorces over the next 5 years.
3.3.
To decline. The decline.
To increase. The increase.
To research. The research.
To survey. The survey.
To produce. The produce.
To record. The record.
To conflict. The conflict.
To protest. The protest.
To update. The update.
To contract. The contract.
To advance. The advance.
To control. The control.
To address. The address.
To extract. The extract.
3.4.
Rishabh Jain.
One of the most difficult cancers to treat is pancreatic cancer. This is partly because it involves doctors trying to kill all the diseased cells while sparing as many healthy ones as possible, and the pancreas, rather than being in a fixed position, moves around the abdominal area and sometimes gets obscured by other organs. Rishabh Jain, an American boy from Portland, Oregon in the USA, was only 13 when he developed an algorithm that uses artificial intelligence to accurately locate and track the pancreas. He was inspired by the death of a family friend to cancer, and when he heard about the low survival rate for patients with pancreatic cancer, he decided he wanted to do something about it. His algorithm won the top prize in a competition called the Discovery Education 3M Young Scientist Challenge. Aged only 14, he was named America's top young scientist and was included in the Time magazine Influential Teens list. With the money he won from the competition, he set up a non-profit organisation to promote STEM subjects among disadvantaged children and raise awareness of pancreatic cancer. He says he'll also put some of the money towards a college fund so he can study to become either a biomedical engineer or a doctor.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown was included in the Time magazine Influential Teens list at the age of 13 and was appointed as a UNICEF ambassador at the age of 14. She was born in Malaga, Spain, to British parents and lived in Spain and the UK until she was 8, when the family moved to Florida. She suffered hearing problems as a child, which gradually led to her becoming completely deaf in one ear. Despite this, she had always wanted to act, inspired by her love of Disney films, and made her debut, age 9, in the ABC fantasy drama series Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. 3 years later, she got the role of 11 in the Netflix science fiction horror series Stranger Things, and has won several awards for her performance, including 2 Emmys. Since then, as well as her acting, she has worked as a model and in music videos, and in March 2019 became an ambassador of UEFA's Together We Play Strong campaign, which promotes women's football.
Marley Dias.
Marley Dias, who was named after the reggae singer Bob Marley, was born in Philadelphia in the United States to parents of Caribbean descent and grew up in New Jersey. She was only 13 years old when she was nominated as one of the world's most influential teenagers. At the age of 11, when she was in 6th grade, she complained to her mother that in all the books she was asked to read at school, the protagonists were always white boys or dogs. Instead of just complaining, her mother encouraged her to do something about it, and she decided to launch a campaign called #1000 Black Girl Books in order to call public attention to the lack of diversity in children's literature and to promote featuring black girls as the main characters. Her goal was to collect 1,000 books and donate them to different communities. Dias's project became a global sensation, and since the launch of the campaign, more than 11,000 books with black girls as the main character have been donated to libraries, schools, and community organizations around the world. Dias has now written and published her own book, Marley Dias Gets It Done, and so can you. Her aim, she says, is to ensure that kids know that changing the world should not be something that feels imaginary, but something that they have the power to do today and always.
Melati and Isabel Vidson.
Bali in Indonesia may be a dream holiday destination with its beautiful beaches and clear water. However, a less glamorous fact exists: a serious problem with plastic pollution. Less than 5% of its plastic bags get recycled, and when sisters Melati and Isabel Vidson were swimming one day, they found themselves surrounded by them. Then, aged just 10 and 12, they wanted to change things. Their heroes were people who had done things to change the world: Nelson Mandela, Princess Diana, and Gandhi. So, inspired by them, they set up a campaign called Bye Bye Plastic Bags, which has been instrumental in the fight to ban plastic bags on the island. They hope Bali can follow in the footsteps of Hawaii and Rwanda in making the plastic bag a thing of the past. From petitioning both online and offline to distributing environmentally friendly bags with fellow teens, the Sisters campaign has gained international attention and counts the United Nations and conservationist Jane Goodall among its collaborators. Their single-minded determination earned them a place in the Time magazine Influential Teenagers list when they were 15 and 17 years old, and they have spoken at several international conferences. What the sisters say motivates them most is seeing how they can mobilise and activate young people.
3.5.
He says he'll also put some of the money towards a college fund so he can study to become either a biomedical engineer or a doctor.
Since then, as well as her acting, she has worked as a model and in music videos, and in March 2019 became an ambassador of UEFA's Together We Play Strong campaign, which promotes women's football. She decided to launch a campaign called #1000 Black Girl Books in order to call public attention to the lack of diversity in children's literature and to promote featuring black girls as the main characters.
They hope Bali can follow in the footsteps of Hawaii and Rwanda in making the plastic bag a thing of the past.
3.6.
Are you having a holiday this summer?
Yes, we've got some time off in July, so we're going to the Lake District.
Don't you usually go abroad?
Yes, but we've decided to stay in the UK and rent a cottage. We're trying to cut down on air travel, to save the planet. We're big fans of Greta Thunberg.
3.7. 1.
Did you find the dress you wanted for the wedding?
I found a dress, but not the style I really wanted.
2.
Did you meet anyone new last night?
I met the guy.
The guy?
Yes, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
3.8. 1.
You'll never guess who I saw at the theatre last night. Who? Harry Kane.
The Harry Kane? The footballer?
Yes, he was sitting in the row behind me. I couldn't believe my eyes.
2.
What do we need to add first? The sugar or the flour?
Hold on a minute while I check. You add the sugar.
3.9.
I have 2 nights watched with you, but can perceive no truth in your report. When was it she last walked?
Since His Majesty went into the field, I have seen her rise from her bed, throw her nightgown upon her, unlock her closet, take forth paper, fold it, write upon't, read it, afterwards seal it, and again return to bed, yet all this while in a most fast sleep.
A great perturbation in nature. To receive at once the benefit of sleep and do the effects of watching. In this slumbery agitation, besides her walking and other actual performances, what at any time have you heard her say?
That, sir, which I will not report after her.
You may to me. At his most meet you should.
Neither to you nor anyone, having no witness to confirm my speech. Lo, you, here she comes. This is her very guise, and upon my life, fast asleep. Observe her. Stand close.
How came she by that light?
Why, it stood by her. She has light by her continually. 'Tis her command.
You see her eyes are open.
Aye, but their sense is shut.
What is it she does now? Look how she rubs her hands.
It is an accustomed action with her to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her continue in this a quarter of an hour.
Yet, here's a spot.
Hark! She speaks. I will set down what comes from her, to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly.
Out, damned spot. Out, I say. 1, 2. Why then, 'tis time to do't. Hell is murky. Fie, my lord, fie, a soldier and a fiend. What need we fear who knows it, when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have had so much blood in him?
Do you mark that?
The Thane of Fife had a wife. Where is she now? What? Will these hands ne'er be clean? No more of that, my lord, no more of that. You mar all with this starting.
Go to. You have known what you should not.
She has spoke what she should not, I am sure of that. Heaven knows what she has known.
Here's the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. Oh, oh, oh.
What a sigh is there. The heart is sorely charged.
I would not have such a heart in my bosom for the dignity of the whole body.
Well.
Pray God it be, sir.
This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I have known those which have walked in their sleep, who have died holily in their beds.
Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you yet again, Banquo's buried. He cannot come out on 's grave.
Even so.
To bed. To bed. There's knocking at the gate. Come, give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed, to bed, to bed.
Will she now go to bed?
Directly.
Foul whisperings are abroad. Unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. Infected minds to their deaf pillows will discharge their secrets. More needs she the divine than the physician. God forgive us all. Look after her. Remove from her the means of all annoyance, and still keep eyes upon her. So, good night. My mind she has mated, and amazed my sight. I think, but dare not speak.
Good night, good doctor.
Three point 10. Idioms from Shakespeare. 1. Noun phrases. 1. Be.
The be-all and end-all means the most important thing.
2. F.
In one fell swoop means all at once, in one go.
3. D.
A sorry sight means in a bad state, a mess.
4. A.
Elbow room means space to move.
5. C.
A wild goose chase means a useless search for something.
6. E.
Good riddance means I'm so glad they've gone.
7. G.
His own flesh and blood means family.
3.11. 2. Verb phrases. 1. Be.
Fashion has come full circle and long skirts are now back, like in the 70s.
2. A.
Our dog needs a ridiculous amount of food. He's eating us out of house and home.
3. G.
I could tell immediately that Jackie was upset. She wears her heart on her sleeve.
4. C.
I thought it was best that I told Matt what I knew about his new girlfriend. Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind.
5. I.
The boss is furious with you about yesterday's meeting. I think you should lie low this morning and keep out of his way.
6. F.
A man turned up at the door pretending to be a policeman and tried to convince my grandmother to give him her credit card details. Luckily, I was there and I sent him packing.
7. H.
Telling a joke is a good way to break the ice at the start of a presentation.
8. D.
I drank far too much coffee yesterday, and as a result I didn't sleep a wink.
9. E.
Nobody knows what happened to the missing walkers. They seem to have vanished into thin air.
3.12. 3. Expressions. 1. D.
Neither here nor there means irrelevant, unimportant.
2. B.
Too much of a good thing means more than you need of something, even when it's something you like.
3. H.
Mum's the word means don't say anything to anyone.
4. A.
The world's your oyster means you can achieve anything or go anywhere.
5. E.
Had me in stitches means made me laugh.
6. C.
Come what may means whatever happens.
7. F.
In a pickle means in a difficult situation.
8. G.
In my heart of hearts means deep down.
3.13.
Shakespeare at school. 40 boys on benches with their quills, 6 days a week through almost all the year. Long hours of Latin with relentless drills and repetition, all enforced by fear. I picture Shakespeare sitting near the back, indulging in a risky bit of fun by exercising his prodigious knack of thinking up an idiotic pun, and whispering his gem to other boys, some of whom could not suppress their mirth, behaviour that unfailingly annoys any teacher anywhere on earth. The fun was over when the master spoke. "Will Shakespeare come up here and share the joke?"
3.14. Part 1.
Today I'm talking to acclaimed playwright Diane Samuels, whose play Kindertransport is widely considered a modern classic and is now a set exam text for secondary school students.
Hello.
Diane, you were formerly a drama teacher, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Earlier this week, you may have heard one of our most respected Shakespearean actresses, Dame Helen Mirren, announce somewhat controversially in a TV interview that it's a waste of time for children to read Shakespeare plays at school, that Shakespeare must be brought alive through watching plays or films. At the same time, some recently published research carried out in 4 large London secondary schools tells a different story. It concludes that even though, inevitably, some students think Shakespeare is boring and irrelevant, many others say that they really enjoy reading and studying Shakespeare. And these students don't see the complexity of his language as a barrier, more as an interesting challenge. Diane, can I ask you, first of all, did you study Shakespeare at school? Did you have a good or bad experience?
I remember studying Macbeth when I was about 15. Mm-hmm. And I studied Hamlet for A-level and King Lear. It was in the 1970s, so in a Jewish comprehensive school in Liverpool. And we would read the play aloud and talk about it a bit. We didn't act any of it out, really. But I did enjoy reading it aloud together in class. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple thing to do. But, you know, that feeling of just reading something and airing it together. I mean, there's always the issue, isn't there, of who gets which roles to read. Some people more confident readers than others. So it was enjoyable, and I also, one of the other things I remember was for exams you obviously needed to remember the play, and I did enjoy, maybe I enjoyed this more than anything, learning soliloquies or learning quotes and kind of walking around my bedroom or walking to school, saying them over to myself.
And did you teach Shakespeare when you were a drama teacher?
When I was a drama teacher, I wasn't required to teach Shakespeare at all. I taught in a London secondary schools in the 1980s, and Shakespeare wasn't on the GCSE syllabus as it was just coming in those days. So you weren't required to teach Shakespeare at all in drama.
Incredible.
But I wanted to bring it to the students. I taught in 3 years in a school called Hackney Downs, which is a boys' school in Hackney. It doesn't exist anymore. And I more was exploring the dynamics of it. I like choosing a very particular scenario and then letting the whole play come alive through that scenario. So what I did was I went into role as Desdemona, and I didn't tell them anything about Othello, about the play, and I just sat in front of these 15-year-old boys and I put them in role, and I said, I want you to come to give advice. I want you to be like counsellors or advisors for this young woman who's got a problem. And I didn't tell them any more than that. And then I told them about how my handkerchief had gone missing and what would I do if my husband had given it to me. And we just got into the play by this very little thing.
How did your students respond?
They just came to all these conclusions, and they ended up actually voicing the things Othello voiced, like, well, are you having an affair with Cassio? And they became really suspicious. And I didn't do anything but ask their advice about handkerchief. And it was very interesting the way the dynamic of the play counted just through this one character with this problem sort of came alive in the role play. And I really enjoyed doing that. And they then wanted to know a lot more about the play, but they were not coming at it as a text. They were coming at it as a kind of living thing that was about people with struggles. And it was very enjoyable, and they really completely got it. It was brilliant on an emotional level. So they went at it, if you like, emotionally and physically rather than intellectually.
Absolutely. So what do you think about Helen Mirren's opinion that reading Shakespeare in the classroom is a waste of time?
I'm always cautious in terms of learning to say anything is a waste of time, because it depends how you do it. I'm sure Helen Mirren coming at it as an actress is in a way not saying it's a waste of time, but there's better things you could be doing with your time. And I have to say, in teaching Shakespeare, I do think what you want to do is get to the drama. It is live theatre, and I would always err on the side of going for it on the floor, if you like, first. And I tend to start a session working with Shakespeare, getting people standing up in the space. But then I was trained as a drama teacher, and I make theatre, and in my writing workshops that I run for all ages, I tend to get people playing and moving around, or if they're sitting around, I get them into active mode writing. So I think bringing it alive, getting into the characters are great. Getting into the language as it lives is probably more exciting and multidimensional than reading off the page. But then there's moments when just sitting quietly and sitting with the language and looking at it can be fruitful too. So I think there's probably a place for everything. I wouldn't write it off completely.
3.15 Part 2.
When was the last time you saw a production of a Shakespeare play yourself?
I have to confess that I haven't been to see a Shakespeare play recently. Actually, the most recent one is I went to see some students at Central School for Speech and Drama, actually. So I did go and see Macbeth recently. So really, they were really into it and really relishing it. They did a bit of gender blind performing where they had a lot of the women playing male roles. They actually didn't have any of the men playing female roles, which I thought was an interesting choice, that was not weighted in one direction.
What do you think in general about the trend in modern productions for male roles to be played by women? For example, Glenda Jackson as King Lear.
I think theatre needs to be kept alive and fresh. You need to keep experimenting. The thing that concerns me is if you're doing it A, because it's a gimmick, or B, because it's kind of trendy. At the same time, I sympathise with strong, experienced women actors, because they don't have the choice of powerful roles that men do if you're playing according to gender. So I think it's great to give women actors the opportunity to play these hefty roles that are written for male characters in Shakespeare.
What about male actors playing female roles?
I think it's all about the actor, isn't it? And whether the role suits them. So, there is a slight political agenda there of, well, why have men taking even more roles away from women, ? When women are struggling enough.
How would you feel about a male actor playing a female role in one of your plays, or vice versa?
I have no problem with men playing women or women playing men in any of my plays. One of my plays, Poppy and George, is all about a woman who lives her life as a man because she feels too limited to live her life in, if you like, in women's clothes in the world in 1919, just after the First World War. So in a way, it's a theme of my work that, this theme of the roles we play in the world, and do they restrict us or do they liberate us? In terms of theatre, I mean, the things that I've found difficult when I've seen productions are usually around feeling that an actor isn't right for the role, and that isn't about, you can have a person of the gender the character is, or what the character is, and they and yet they're just not the right person. So I think what makes a person be able to bring a role alive fully is about, I suppose, their empathy, their connection with the character and the themes of the play, and their skill, probably, if we're talking about professional work. So it's those things that matter most, I reckon.
Your play Kindertransport is a set text in schools. Do you think students can enjoy it from just reading it, or do they need to see a performance?
I have talked to many students and visited many schools who study Kindertransport, and the thing I find I do when I go in that often teachers aren't doing, if it's in an English literature context, this is, because it's also studied in a drama context where, of course, their approach to it is to perform it. So there's loads of students who study Kindertransport to actually mount a production of it, or to mount a series of performances of extracts. So in a sense, that feels to me to be the most rewarding way to study the play. It isn't, the Kindertransport isn't really in itself, if you like, a work of literature. So you only touch the tip of the iceberg just reading it. And I guess that's true of Shakespeare, in answer to the earlier questions. You're not getting everything out of the play, which is maybe what Helen Mirren means.
Diane Samuels, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.